Hello and welcome to another episode. I am your host, Jacob Brown, and today we'll be discussing the DraftKings Week 1 wide receivers. Guys, we're getting closer and closer to the regular season, and something I really get excited about is picking these DraftKings wide receivers. They're vital to the slate. If you're excited about a quarterback, you got to get excited about his pass catchers, and this is a very important video when you're trying to get an idea of who you should be stacking with your quarterback. So let's go ahead and get started with the first set of tiers, and we're going by tiers in this video just because there's so many receivers to talk about. If we just went one by one and singled all of them out, we'd be here all day long. I'm gonna try to make this video as short as possible. But yeah, we're gonna go by tiers, and here's the first set of tiers that I like on this week 1 slate. I first want to point out the high dollar value wide receivers in the 8.3 to 7.5K range. And there's a lot to like here. We know the reasons why we should like Davante Adams. If you like Aaron Rodgers, you're definitely going to like Davante Adams. He was the best wide receiver in the league last year. Great pass catching volume, great touchdown percentage. He's going to get you there in tournaments. I expect him to be one of the highest owned wide receivers. Just a great stacking option for Aaron Rodgers. Then we move to Tyreek Hill at 8,200. He's definitely somebody you want to get to. He's got some great upside, and he will be one of the primary stacking options for Patrick Mahomes. And then this is a great game environment. It's the as of right now in the Vegas lines, it's the highest projected game total of Week 1 out of all the games. Believe Tyreek Hill is going to get involved. No matter how good you think Cleveland's defense is, Tyreek Hill is going to be involved in Week 1. He's got a speedster mentality. He can burn any corner in the league. He's got upside of scoring you 61 DraftKings points. If you had him that week, you broke the slate. Tyreek Hill, major ceiling percentage. He has a high floor as well. Then we move on to Calvin Ridley, who's now looked at to be one of the best receivers in the league. Julio Jones ain't there anymore, and Calvin Ridley just has a lot of opportunity now. We saw games without Julio Jones last year where Calvin Ridley performed extremely well, and I think this is a great price point for him and a great game environment. I expect the Atlanta Falcons to get to him early in the game, target him, pepper him with targets. I could see double-digit targets for Calvin Ridley in Week 1. The Eagles' secondary is nothing to write home about, and they didn't make much improvements on the secondary during the offseason. So I can definitely see a version where Calvin Ridley could be the best receiver for Week 1. He looks to be someone a lot of people are going to get to, especially if I think he'll probably be one of the best run back options for the affiliate stacks. And then he'll be the key pivotal point to most Atlanta stacks. So great opportunity for Calvin Ridley in Week 1. DeAndre Hopkins, he is the best stacking option for Kyler Murray, hands down. I almost don't even want to roster a Kyler Murray lineup without DeAndre Hopkins being in it. That's how confident I feel about his play. He is a targets monster. we talk about these guys ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, but Hopkins is the number one target option. I really like what he can do with the competition he's going against in Tennessee. Tennessee's defense was not very good last year against the passing game, and I can see a very similar version happening this offseason. The Titans just didn't get much better in their secondary, so keep an eye on DeAndre Hopkins heading into week 1. Then we get to Justin Jefferson, who was the breakout rookie of the year. I like what I see from Justin Jefferson. We do have a pause because of an injury that he suffered about a month ago. It was a minor shoulder sprain. He's back at practice. He looks to be okay, but that's something to monitor as we're going into the regular season. But Justin Jefferson, he's going to get involved. He's going to get targets. He's got a great duo with Adam Thielen, and he is the primary stacking option for Minnesota, and he is the primary run back option if you're using Cincinnati stacks. Then we move on to Stefan Diggs, who's dealing with the knee injury right now. I'm not really too big on this Steelers-Buffalo Bills game. But if I were to have to pick some players from this game, Stefan Diggs is definitely one of them for some great reasons. He's the number one option for Josh Allen. Josh Allen definitely caters to him in this offense, peppers him with targets. Steelers do have a good defense, though, and I will have a little bit of Stefan Diggs, but I'm keeping my eye out on that ownership. And if he's someone that dips down as these guys ahead of him are going up, that's definitely a time to attack Stefan Diggs and the Buffalo Bills offense. As of right now, he's more of a wait-and-see approach on the ownership. Then we get to DK Metcalf at 7,500, and he's someone else that you gotta kind of pause a little bit. He's a real up-and-down player. Some weeks he'll have some really great games, 25, 30 fantasy points, and then some other games he might get 2 catches and maybe 8, 10 points and scores you like a late touchdown and gets you maybe like 14 points. I think this Seattle Seahawks and Colts game is something to really keep an eye on because the game flow could go many different ways. If Carson Wentz doesn't play, I feel like this game is potentially going to be really slow. The Colts defense ain't no joke, and they could put a hold on DK Metcalf and they could slow down Russell Wilson in the passing game. So this is definitely something I want to think about and I want to see on ownership as the season gets closer. I want to have a little bit of DK Metcalf, but I'm not completely overly excited to roster him for week 1. And that's the tiers for the 8.3 thousand to 7.5 thousand as we move on to the next tier. In this next tier, we got the 7.1 to 6.4K receivers. And I want to start off with A.J. Brown. He's one of my most exposed players in my opinion. But recent injury news has came out and it's got me a little nervous. He's got some knee issues going on, and that's something to monitor for the next couple weeks to see if he'll be on the field for week 1. But another person we need to keep an eye out on, who's a little lower on this list, is Julio Jones at 6,800. He's also injured, and these guys play on the same team. So if A.J. Brown plays and Julio doesn't, A.J. Brown's a great value. I like him a lot if Julio Jones isn't on the field. And if Julio Jones is on the field and A.J. Brown plays as well, I still like A.J. Brown a lot. But that being said, he's someone we need to monitor as we get closer and closer to week 1. But as of right now, A.J. Brown is my favorite play in this price range. Then we get to Adam Thielen for the Minnesota Vikings. He seems to be taking a dip off just a little bit. I like him, but you want to be cautious, especially at this price point at $7K. I don't see him with a super high ceiling, but I see him with the floor that can get him there at this price point. He's someone I want to roster a little bit in my Kirk Cousins stacks. If you're interested in Kirk Cousins, you're going to have to play some Adam Thielen. I don't really like this price point. I would like to see him maybe in 65 to 6K range. And that's something that could potentially happen as we get later into the season. But right now, 7K, not too exciting, but I will have some of him in my rosters and my 150s. Then we get to Keenan Allen at 6,900. All last season, it really seemed like Keenan Allen was underpriced most weeks. I believe last year in week 1, he was like 6,200, and he was just super overlooked. At 6,900, I feel like he will be overlooked again. He is obviously the number one option for Justin Herbert. This game environment is a little slow, in my opinion, but believe Keenan Allen's going to get peppered with targets regardless of what defense they're playing. I'm definitely going to have some interest in Keenan Allen all season long, and especially here in week 1. Then we get to Julio Jones. We discussed him a little bit. He's got some injury issues right now. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on for the weeks to come. But if he plays, and A.J. Brown, like we said, A.J. Brown's also dealing with some knee injury. If A.J. Brown doesn't play and Julio Jones does, he could very potentially be one of the highest owned receivers. I like the fact that they kind of made Julio and A.J. Brown the same price point, or close to the same price point. So with that being said, I'm prioritizing A.J. Brown over Julio Jones, but I'm definitely going to get to some Julio Jones in my Ryan Tannehill stacks, and he will be a run back option in my Arizona stacks as well. So definitely going to have some of that right there with Julio Jones at 6,800. And then we move on to Terry McLaurin, who's probably my favorite 6K wide receiver. For many of the reasons why we like Keenan Allen, we like Terry McLaurin. I actually probably like Terry McLaurin more than Keenan Allen, just for this reason alone. Terry McLaurin doesn't really have a lot of depth behind him in Washington. Curtis Samuel, who was supposed to be his new duo buddy, has had a terrible offseason, injury-riddled, COVID-riddled, hasn't really played in the preseason, hasn't really been involved in training camp. So that just takes a ding to this Washington offense, but it helps Terry McLaurin. I really think his only competition in targets is going to be Logan Thomas. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is a heavy volume thrower. I could see a version of this game where Terry McLaurin can get anywhere between 8 to 12 targets. And at this price point, you love to hear that. So we're going to want some Terry McLaurin at this price range. He's my favorite 6K plus wide receiver. And I really like him. And that's the tiers for 7.1K to 6.4. And we'll move on to the next one. Now we get to the 6.3 to 5.7K range. And we start out with the Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson. I love Deontay Johnson on the Steelers. Last year he was a great play. When he was on the field, he had some troubles early in the season with concussion. He has some issues with drops as well, but he's someone I really like. And I believe he's a great pivot off of Terry McLaurin if you want to do that. And he'll be a great run back option if you're stacking Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs and you want a run back option from the Steelers. And someone else to really kind of compare him to is he's the same price as Najee Harris. And if you put Najee in the flex, you can switch out some lineups with him and Deontay and get that same price point. I think they're kind of wanting you to choose a side between the two of those players. And I really like Deontay Johnson's upside for week 1. Then we move on to DJ Moore, who's dealing with an injury. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on. When we've been really excited to play this Carolina stack with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey, with Sam Darnold being the quarterback. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on. If he's healthy and a go, we're going to play some DJ Moore in week 1. And that'll be a huge pinpoint for me in those stacks if DJ Moore is available or not. Then we get the Jarvis Landry at 6K. Like I've said before, this is the highest point total game of week 1. And I'm definitely going to get to some Jarvis Landry. You also got Odell Beckham Jr. there. But I really like Jarvis Landry a lot more than Odell. I think Jarvis Landry is a better receiver at this point in their careers. Baker Mayfield has a rapport with Jarvis Landry. I don't really know if he has much of a rapport with Odell. Odell hadn't been on the field enough for them to get a rapport. Jarvis Landry just looks like the go-to guy to me. And if I'm playing Kansas City Chiefs stacks, Jarvis Landry is going to be probably my 1B to Nick Chubb's 1A and run back options for the Cleveland Browns. Now, we get the DJ Chark at 5,800. He had a broken finger early in August, I believe. And he got surgery on it, and he's back in practice. He is the number 1 option on this team, and he's definitely someone to keep an eye on, especially when ownership comes out. If he goes a little bit lower on than I think he is, then I will definitely get onto him. I'm going to have some pieces to this team. I'm going to play Trevor Lawrence against this terrible Houston Texans defense, and he's definitely going to be a piece for me as we go into week 1. Now we move on to Robbie Anderson. Same reasons why we like DJ Moore, same reasons why we like Robbie Anderson, because we're going to play Sam Darnold, and if we're playing Sam Darnold, we love his pass catchers, and I will love Robbie Anderson even more if DJ Moore, for some reason, doesn't suit up for week 1. Robbie Anderson could become one of the best values on the slate. He's a great deep threat. He's played with Sam Darnold before. He has that rapport with him. I could definitely see Robbie Anderson being Sam Darnold's favorite receiver to go to, especially early on in the season. And then we move on to my favorite 5K play in Brandon Ayuk. I've said before in the previous video that I feel like Brandon Ayuk is the closest thing to a real wide receiver on this team as you can get. Deebo Samuel, he's more of a gadget guy. Great running and these trick plays, but Brandon Ayuk is the man on this team. I really like him. They're playing a Detroit team who just doesn't look like they're going to be very competitive in this game. San Francisco is heavy favorites. One thing I will say about Brandon Ayuk is he's real touchdown dependent. And if he doesn't score, he probably won't get you there because they're not going to be throwing the ball very late into the game. So he's got to get you a first half touchdown to make value. Now we move on to the 5.4 to 4.5K range. And at the top of this list, we got Odell Beckham Jr. I'm definitely going to get some pieces of him in the Kansas City stacks. He's going to be a run back option for me. I don't necessarily think he's the best run back option. If I had to say where I like him at, he's probably like my third or fourth favorite run back option when I'm doing the Cleveland stacks, run back options. So he's somebody that hasn't played in a long time. He's coming off injury. I really want to see what he looks like in week 1. I'll roster him a little bit. I won't be overly excited about it, but I will be paying attention because he does have some upside if he can come back playing healthy. Then we get to Russell Gage. I love Calvin Ridley, and I really like Russell Gage in this game, mainly due to the fact that Russell Gage is the number 2 on this team now. There's no Julio Jones to steal away playing time. And I really think a lot of people are going to be focusing on Calvin Ridley. They'll be doubling Ridley. They'll be watching out for Kyle Pitts, the newly acquired tight end for the Falcons. And I think a lot of people are just going to leave Russell Gage open. I could definitely see a version of this season being Russell Gage getting a lot of targets, maybe like 5 to 6, maybe 7 to 8 on a good week, and him turning some heads. He's at 5,300 right now. By the end of the season, this guy could be like 6,300. I really think this could be a breakout year for Russell Gage, and I hope it starts week 1 because I'm going to have some pieces of him. Then we move on to Brandon Cooks for the Houston Texans. I'm not really excited to play Texans, but we're playing Jacksonville Jaguar stacks, and we got to have some run back options. And I think Brandon Cooks is the best run back option for the Texans. Might be the only run back option. I really don't know how much of a passing game they're going to have with all the running backs that they got in their backfield. But Cooks looks to be the number 1 option. And until I see that he's not, I'm going to roster him. And at 5,300, he's just too cheap. We saw him break out last year with Deshaun Watson. We don't expect Deshaun Watson to play at all this year for the Texans. But there's still some upside with Brandon Cooks. Tyrod Taylor, I hope he's got enough arm strength to get to Cooks. Cooks should still get a lot of targets, anywhere from like maybe 8 to 10, 8 to 12, 7 to 10, somewhere around there. I really like his potential for week 1. Then we get to Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is someone I'm interested in. Of course, if you're playing Minnesota stacks, you got the run back options with Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And if you're playing Joe Burrow, you like to play Tyler Boyd. And I got both of those quarterbacks in my player pool, so I'm definitely going to have some Tyler Boyd. Out of the big 3 of Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, he's probably my second favorite. But he can get you there. I was looking at his stats before this video, and he was getting peppered a lot of targets early, and I think maybe Joe Burrow maybe feels a little more comfortable throwing to him, so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I'm playing some Tyler Boyd. Then we get to Jacoby Myers, and I really think Jacoby Myers is going to take over this receiving core for New England. Nelson Aguilar is slated as the number one receiver on the depth chart, but Jacoby Myers could definitely turn some heads. He's been turning heads all off season for New England. One of the most talked about players for New England, and I can definitely see Jacoby Myers being that guy for Week 1. No matter if Cam Newton starts, no matter if Mac Jones starts, if you have some interest in either one of those two guys at quarterback, you're definitely going to want some Jacoby Myers. Looks like he's going to be a heavy targeted player for either one of those quarterbacks in Week 1. When we get to Laviska Shenault, same reasons why I like DJ Chark, I like Laviska Shenault. I actually like Laviska more than DJ Chark, mainly because of the price point. Second, we've heard some great things about how they want to use Laviska in the offseason. Nothing but great things, nothing but how they want to use him. He can be a gadget guy, slot guy. He's going to get peppered with targets. He's going to get to run a little bit, especially now with Travis Etienne out for the season. Laviska Shenault could take some of that role of running a little bit, and he's going to be a vital point of this Jacksonville offense, and I can't wait to roster him for Week 1. Then we move on to Draquan Smith for the New Orleans Saints. Draquan, he's got an injury right now. He looks to be ready by Week 1, but we're not too sure what his status will be. And at this price point, I don't know how excited I am to play him. But now we got the news that Jameis Winston is the starter. So that gives me a little more interest. But we got to know how healthy Draquan Smith is leading into Week 1. So that's definitely something to monitor for Week 1. Then we get to Corey Davis. He is the number one alpha wide receiver for the New York Jets. And reports out of training camp is that Zach Wilson loves Corey Davis. They got a great rapport building up. He's definitely going to be somebody, in my opinion, that will get overlooked. But if you're playing Carolina stacks, I think Corey Davis could be the number one run back option for the Jets. And he'll definitely be somebody that I'm wanting to roster for Week 1. Then you get to Jamar Chase. We discussed how we like Tyler Boyd and we like Jamar Chase, but you got Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. If I had to rank the three, I would put T. Higgins number 1, Tyler Boyd number 2, and Jamar Chase number 3. Jamar Chase is a rookie, and I think he's the highest dollar receiver rookie on the slate. And I'm just not that excited to play him. Guys, I really want to stress this. Everybody's trying to find the next Justin Jefferson for this year. And I think everybody's just pushing Jamar Chase onto their rosters because they think that him and Joe Burrow got this great connection from college. And the NFL is just going to be different. I'm not saying that Jamar Chase is a bad play, but I wouldn't go heavily owned on him. I wouldn't think he'd be my favorite wide receiver from Cincinnati. But don't be surprised when you see the ownership on Jamar Chase in your tournaments, in your cash games. Guys are going to want to play Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow. It's just a given. That's not going to be me for Week 1. I'm going to have some of them, but he's not going to be heavily owned in my side. Then we move on to Nicole Hartman at 4,800. Great stacking option. And when you're trying to find some value in Kansas City, he's definitely going to be there. If you want to play him with Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce in a stack, that's perfect. He's going to get some more opportunities now that Sammy Watkins isn't on the team. This is his third year with the team, I believe. And he just looks to have a breakout year, in my opinion. And I want some Nicole Hartman, especially in week 1, with that high game point total. Then we move on to T. Higgins. T. Higgins is my favorite Cincinnati wide receiver. He's the cheapest of the trio, and I'm definitely going to get on this bandwagon. Hopefully he doesn't go too high on. When we get closer to week 1 and we see the ownership, we'll kind of get a better idea. But he's definitely somebody I want. Not just in Joe Burrow stacks, not just in Minnesota run back stacks. I'm going to have him in one-offs throughout a lot of lineups in my 150s. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on. I really like him. He's probably my favorite receiver in this 4K range. Then we get to Jamison Crowder, 4,600. I just wanted to talk about him a little bit because I really don't know what to make of his situation. He took a salary decrease to stay with the Jets. He could still potentially be a cut candidate. I really don't know. I haven't heard a lot of good things about Jamison Crowder in camp, but I do expect him to be the slot receiver for this team, especially in week 1. He could be someone that goes a little overlooked. Jamison Crowder seems to always go overlooked. He does good when it's least expected, and I will definitely have some Jamison Crowder in my run back options with Carolina and in my stacking options with Zach Wilson. So it's definitely someone I want to keep an eye on. And now we get to Devontae Smith for the Philadelphia Eagles at 4,500. I understand the excitement of the Heisman Trophy winner and Jalen Hurts being his old college quarterback. There's some excitement there. I get it. I'm just not all over it like some of you guys are. Devontae Smith, rookie receiver, already dealt with the injury in training camp. Hasn't had a lot of preseason time. Someone I'm not really sold on. I will have some of him. I'm not going to get overly exposed to him like some of you guys are. I just don't get really super hyped on rookies, especially in week 1. Like, I understand the hype train is heavy for Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, but that's just not me. I'm more of a wait-and-see approach. I'll have a little bit of him, but it's not going to be overly dramatic like some of you guys are going to do. It's just not for me. Now we get to Christian Kirk at 4,500. He's a big question mark in this receiving core. They just, in the offseason, they added A.J. Green, and then they drafted Rondell Moore. I really don't know what Christian Kirk's role is going to be, but I said this in my quarterback video, and I'll say it again. Those two guys I mentioned in Rondell Moore and A.J. Green, they could be big distraction pieces for this offense, and they could leave a guy like Christian Kirk wide open. And Christian Kirk has big playability. He could go really low owned, definitely because of his price point. And when you got those other two receivers at their cheap price points in 3,800 and 3K and Rondell Moore and A.J. Green, this could really hurt him in ownership, which I'm going to get on. I probably will be a little overexposed to Christian Kirk just due to the fact that the ownership will not be there. And it'll be really exciting to play him if that happens. That's something to monitor as we're getting prepared for week 1. Now we get to the 4.1 to 3K range, and I'm real excited about this range, guys. Let's just start off at the top. Michael Pittman at 4,100. Wow. He is the number 1 receiver on this team, not T.Y. Hilton. And at 4,100, I really like what I see. He's going to get targets. I love the fact that we're hearing Carson Wentz is going to be back playing. I don't know if he'll be completely healed. I don't know if he's rushing to return. But if we can get any semblance of a healthy Carson Wentz with Michael Pittman at this price, we're getting a home run at this price, guys. I don't know how owned he will be in week 1. He could be one of the highest owned values on the slate. I'm definitely keeping an eye on ownership. I'm definitely keeping an eye on Carson Wentz's progression into being healthy. But if Michael Pittman and Carson Wentz connect, this could be a really cheap stack that goes overlooked. Like I said, I'm not really sure about the game flow of this game on both sides with Seattle and the Colts, but Michael Pittman is someone that's going to be really hard to pass up. Then we get to Randall Cobb for the Green Bay Packers. I like Randall Cobb in this game. This is his first game back with his old buddy Aaron Rodgers, and I really think Aaron Rodgers is going to make it a point to get Randall Cobb involved in this game. I could really see Aaron Rodgers making it his mission to get him a touchdown in week 1, just to prove a point and show why Randall Cobb is a valuable asset to the Green Bay Packers. And at $3,900, I'm willing to take a chance on him at that price point. He was good some weeks for the Houston Texans last year. I used him a lot in stacks with Deshaun Watson. I'm really interested in seeing where this can go. And if you like Aaron Rodgers, you got to play some Randall Cobb. He's a cheap pass-catching option if you want to play Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. You want a cheap stacking option with Randall Cobb. It's a great idea. We spoke about A.J. Green in the last slide. I'm not sure how good he's going to be. We've heard some things in offseason that makes us feel good about A.J. Green. He's not going to take on this huge role like he was supposed to take on in Cincinnati. I don't expect him to get peppered with targets. I don't expect him to be this huge volume guy, but he could get in the end zone if people are double covering DeAndre Hopkins, or he could just be there wide open. I'm definitely going to take some shots on A.J. Green, and I'm definitely going to pay attention to this game. I'm really excited about this Arizona-Tennessee game. In my opinion, it's the game of the week. I'm really looking forward to seeing what A.J. Green can do out there. Then we get to Jalen Rhaegar. We just talked about Devontae Smith in the last slide. In my opinion, the receiver I'm most excited to play is Jalen Rhaegar. If I'm playing Jalen Hurts stacks, Jalen Rhaegar is going to be my priority in the wide receiver. Look at this. I will probably have more Jalen Rhaegar than Devontae Smith. He's just a great option, and I'm really willing to bet that Jalen Rhaegar outperforms Devontae Smith week 1. And then we get to Marvin Jones. And unfortunately, right before this recording, I learned that Marvin Jones has a shoulder sprain very similar to what Justin Jefferson had a couple weeks ago. And it just really crushes me. I really hope that he can make it to week 1. I don't know how healthy he'll be if he does play. He was my favorite value. I really still think he's criminally underpriced at $3,600. He was put on this team for one reason and one reason alone, to be the leader of the team. He'll be the leader of this receiving core. I believe he'll be the leader of this receiving core from anywhere to week 5 to week 10. He'll be Urban Meyer's go-to guy. Darren Bevel is the offensive coordinator for this team, and he's coached Marvin Jones in Detroit. I think they will make it a point to get Marvin Jones involved. We got to keep an eye on his injury status, but I really hope he's there for week 1 because I want to roster him a lot. And then we get to Olamide Zaccheaus. I hope I said his name right. He was getting a lot of hype right around the time where Julio Jones first got injured last year with the hamstring injury. And we did roster him a little bit. He didn't really do a lot. I hope maybe like his second year in the league, he's got a little bit more experience under his belt, and maybe he can surprise some people. He's going to be probably the least valid option in my stacks and run backs. I'm just keeping an eye on him. Definitely someone I want to monitor in week 1. And now we get to Marquez Callaway, who just showed out in preseason, and I really wish he didn't do that. He won me some money, some showdown slates, but on the preseason slate against Jacksonville. But I really wish he didn't do that, because now a lot of people are going to be on him. And I really do think out of him and Draquan Smith, Marquez Callaway is the number 1 option. And unfortunately, I really think he'll end up being the highest owned 3K wide receiver on the slate for good reason. He's a good deep threat. He can catch. We saw that one-handed catch he made in the end zone. It was great. And we know now that Jameis Winston's going to be the starting quarterback. I see great opportunity for Marquez Callaway in week 1. He's going to be my primary option for Jameis stacks, and he's going to be my primary option in run back stacks for Green Bay. Then we get to Elijah Moore. He's 3K. He's been dealing with some injuries, and I'm not sure if we'll get to him very much. I was really excited about him in the early process of this, but now that he Elijah Moore at this 3K range will be a decent option. It will be a decent run back option. Then we move on to Terrace Marshall Jr. He's another 3K option we'll like in these Carolina stacks, especially if DJ Moore can't go. We will have a decent amount of Terrace Marshall. He's supposed to take on the Curtis Samuel role for this team, the wide receiver 3. He's looked great in preseason, and he looks to get some decent targets. I'll be excited to play him in some of my lineups. Then we got Rondell Moore at 3K for the Arizona Cardinals. As we mentioned before, he is somebody we're going to target. He looked really great in preseason, and they look like they really want to get him involved in the passing game. And he'll definitely be a vital point in my Kyler Murray stacks, and he'll be somebody I want to run back in my Tennessee stacks. And then we got on to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's also 3K, and he looks to be the number 3 option for Detroit. And I'm not too excited to play any pass catchers from Detroit, but one thing to point out here is San Francisco's heavy favorites. Detroit should be leading or be behind the whole entire game. So with that being said, Amon-Ra St. Brown could be somebody that could get some insane garbage time points at the end of the game. He'll definitely be someone I want to attack. And with that being said, we just finished the 4.1 to 3K tier, and we've finished our wide receiver video. If you got any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments section. If you like this information and you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.